And we are live. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Brad and Kyla with
Hi.
Dallas Geek. If you have seen us before, thank you for returning. We always appreciate that. If you are brand new to the show, thank you so much for watching us. If you have not already, please do not forget to follow us over on Facebook and
right there?
Yep, right there. And subscribe. There should be a little red button on the screen down here. Subscribe over on YouTube. And like the video both places because, you know, always helps us out. But now that we are done with the default shilling for the show, so we're back with a Friday afternoon live stream to talk about something that may or may not be bringing on some heated internet ire towards us.
This is the tea I'm sipping to go with this topic, Brad.
Well, fair enough. I as always, I'm sticking with caffeine because it's the only way I survive the internet. So, anyway, we are going to be talking about Boondock Saints.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah. Would, you know, with the rest of our Does It Still Hold Up series, we're going to take a look at the Boondock Saints. What made it good when it came out, and would that movie, if it came out for the first time today, still hold up with a modern audience? And considering the themes of the movie, and considering current events right now, we will be as conscious about that as possible, and be try to be as non-controversial in that regard as possible. But for anything regarding the movie itself, nothing's off limits, so we are free to decimate it as we see fit. Please don't forget to, as always, send your hate down in the comments to Mike, because he's not around to defend himself. But
at least, you know, probably in the comments might try to defend himself, but
well,
you know,
he can have fun with that.
Nothing. Go back to relaxing.
But with that, before we jump in too deep to the topic, question of the day, just to try to get this out while people are actually watching still. What do you guys think of the Boondock Saints, and if it came out today, do you think it would still hold up? Nostalgia out, just on its own merits, do you think it would hold up with a modern viewing audience? With that, Kyla?
Yeah?
I think you may be the bigger Boondock Saints fan between the two of us, so,
why'd you say that?
I guess, maybe. But please, take it away.
Take it away. So, if you haven't seen the movie Boondock Saints, it follows a pair of Irish Catholic brothers who are basically taking it into their own hands to bring justice to their city. Good old, I think it takes place in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like questioning myself now.
Yes.
Takes place in Boston, and they're bringing justice to their city by going around and ruthlessly killing people who have ties with mafia members or people who they deem to be bad people. You hear that and like, oh, okay. 10 out of 10 would not recommend to watch with your child.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 would not recommend watching with your middle school age child.
Which is funny, considering this movie is basically a rite of passage for just about every middle school and high school aged boy across America.
High school for sure. Like,
oh no, I was
school,
introduced to this in middle school, and like everybody I knew was talking about it.
I had to wait till I was in high school, and like Boondock Saints 2 was coming out my junior year of high school, and that's when I finally actually got a chance to watch it. Was in 2010 is when Boondock Saints 2 came out. So I watched the first Boondock Saints like a week before Boondock Saints 2 came out in theaters.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So I had to wait a little bit just because I look at like middle school kids now might be able to kind of get like a better grasp on it because they've been dealt some terrible hands when it comes to what's going on in the world today. Because I kind of have to move past it, but
a little bit.
just to let's go. They might have a better understanding of like what it means and what's going on inside the movie, but definitely for sure high school age kids would be able to understand like the magnitude of what's going on inside the movie.
Yeah.
As for like the quick summary and if I think it would hold up, I have concerns about how a modern audience would perceive it if it were to literally come out like next week based on what's going on in the world. But that's just my opinion.
Sure.
What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, so honestly, that's kind of where it gets interesting, because, I mean, obviously I have my very, we'll say biased perspective, because, I mean, like,
Okay.
I was introduced to this movie back in middle school.
Fair.
Everybody that I knew was talking about it. It was basically on the same level as Fight Club. In terms of you need to watch this, there was a certain level of reverence that was given to it that, like, you know, you'd hear it initially just like in whispers of like, ooh, Boondock Saints, what's Boondock Saints? And, you know, you'd have to go see it, and then you'd watch it, and then all you want to do is talk about it and quote it with your friends and glorify the ideologies that you see in it, whether or not any of it actually made sense, because, you know, you're a suburban white boy that is, like, so far beyond understanding anything that's in the movie beyond, oh my gosh, explosions, violence, cool. I mean, I don't know, I do think a modern audience I think the age ranges that would be attracted to it would still be about the same, honestly. I don't think that you'd be having, like, you know, your 30s and 40s somethings watching the Boondock Saints today if it came out and saying, yes, I love this movie. I would absolutely agree with this, you know, but you're middle school and high school aged, this, I think it would still hold up there. The catch that I would throw in there is there have been so many other movies that have done essentially the same thing, but with a more modern take on it. I don't know if, honestly, as violent and graphic as the movie is, I honestly don't know if the Boondock Saints would quite be violent or graphic enough for a modern middle school and high school audience. You know, since that would be the demographic going after it. I think they'd be interested in it, but I don't think it would have the same level of reverence. I think it would be a fun movie, but I don't think it would stick as much as it did back when it first came out, especially because of the things like you said, where vigilantism is now a much more heavily talked about
I'm just gonna
subject.
drink my tea.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily hold the same appeal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that would actually end up creating more controversy today than it did back then. And I don't know. I don't know if even a studio today would be willing to take a look at that movie and say, yes, we want to greenlight this. That would be the hardest part, honestly.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it, is that a studio would look at it and go like, that's a little much. Because like in the 90s going into, because it was 99 when it came out, going into 2000, like, yes, there's, let's be honest, we grew up in a world of violence, and it's just gotten more as we've gotten older. We'll just be very plain with that.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. Even then, it was like, oh, okay, like, look at these guys, they're stepping up, they're trying to right the wrongs that they see, and it doesn't seem to, like, be too big of an issue. Like, even at the end of the movie, they go through and they're talking with, like, citizens of Boston, like, well, what do you think of this? And I was like, can I join them? Can you sign me up for this one? And some of the ones are like, I think it's wrong they're going out, you know, doing it this way, but I don't really hate the fact that there's people that are bad off the street now. So it's going on towards the end of it. But I'd almost say something against your point, though, of people in their 30s. That is literally like our generation.
Yeah.
That's the millennials right now.
Yeah.
And I think they would bite into and devour the idea of bringing justice when it's not being taken care of. If I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
Based on what I've been reading for the past couple days. So,
I mean...
and people that I know personally that also fall in that age range. And then Gen Z even more too with that same concept. I think it would be those who are in their 40s and above, if it were to come out now, it would kind of be like,
yeah.
Like the Gen X and like baby boomers, if you will, and whatnot.
Yeah.
They would have some issues with this movie today, if it were to come out now.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, assuming a studio would even be willing to greenlight it in the first place,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think there would be a certain element within our generation that would still have some appeal for this movie.
Yes.
Especially considering current events. However, I would be willing to say that without this movie having already existed from our younger years to give us that bit of inspiration to want to latch onto a movie like this, and the only other movie to have as a point of reference that's in even a remotely similar vein would be Fight Club at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would. I really don't know if it would really stick even with our age group. I think even our age group would kind of look at this and go, "It's a great idea, but it goes a little too."
I think
I think some people would say it would go too far, and others in our generation would say it goes it doesn't go far enough. And I think it would end up having the movie fall too middle of the road with current sentiments within our generation. And I don't think it would have the same, it would be as memorable now. I think it would just be a passing thing that comes, goes, and 20 years after, nobody would be talking about it like they do today.
Yes. Because it's literally, it's 21 years old now. And people are still, I mean, I get people talking about it, I get people referencing it, like, I can't quote it because I'm trying to make sure that I stay family friendly, because all of my favorite quotes from the movie involve inappropriate adult language.
I mean, that's kind of...
or suggestive themes.
That is all of the best quotes in the movie, though, honestly.
But, like, I threw out, I'm just gonna say marinara, just because that's a reference to the line, and if you know the movie, you know what line I'm talking about. I threw that one out one day in, like, a Discord chat, and someone sent me back, like, the whole speech that he gives during that scene. Or, like, we started just going back and forth with it. It was 20 years later. Like,
awesome.
It's a really, it sticks with you.
Oh, yeah.
But I think you're right. Like, if it came out today, it'd be, like, one of those, like, oh, that was, like, a really daring piece to put out. And it was really bold of what they were trying to do, and they're glorifying vigilantism.
Yeah.
And without a superhero label when it comes to vigilante, it becomes like, oh,
yeah, a lot more taboo.
Thing someone's actually trying to do.
Yeah, a lot more taboo.
Yes, yes.
So, honestly, I know this is gonna sound really dumb, but I think one of the biggest detractors for the film, for the younger audience, you know, that like 25 and under crowd, I think honestly one of the biggest detractors would be Willem Dafoe. Like, I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's amazing to watch. However, his performance in this movie in particular, I think would be too over the top for that 25 and under crowd to latch onto. I think that would be the part that would be so over the top that it would take them out of it, because I think that crowd would be so caught up in the violence of everything and the pseudo drama of it all, that the moment Willem Dafoe's Willem
Secret
Dafoe
Life?
ness comes out on screen, I think that would be the moment that would take them out of the experience in a way that they're not used to. Like was more prevalent back when the movie first came out. Because back in the 90s, especially the late 90s, when this came out, that type of over-the-top element was familiar enough in these type of movies that it was just a staple that we expected, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But I think right now, with current movie sensibilities, I think it might be too much. I think you might see them be taken away from it a bit because of that.
I disagree, because I think the only thing that would really detract people from Willem Dafoe's character in Boondock Saints is his quote-unquote secret life.
Yeah, which would definitely have a lot more opinions than I think a lot of other parts of the movie.
Yes. Because, so let's just, I'll put it out there as frank as I possibly can, so that but still very, family appropriate. He is secretly a gay man. There's a scene that you see him with his lover, but it's also shot during a time period where a lot of people weren't comfortable with their sexuality or being public with it, or had different ideals on it and everything, and how he interacts with his lover in one scene a lot of people would be completely appalled by, and then his scene at the end where he shows up dressed as a woman all of a sudden, but how he attacks people with it, I think would not be well received with today's audience, no matter the age group, because it would just be like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah, no, I
when the movie was done, that was, I hate to say it, normal.
Yeah, no, I think that really would be one of the more difficult aspects of the movie to try to get past a modern audience.
But I think the
regardless
rest of it, when he's...
regardless of what your opinion on how certain character types are portrayed, how certain aspects of certain groups are portrayed on screen, I think that part in particular would just... I don't think there'd be any way that it could be explained by the creators of the movie that would ever have a modern audience willing to accept it.
No. And then, I will say that, I think the rest of it, whenever he's, analyzing the crime scenes and how he's just so, precise with what he says and how he treats Greenlee, and was like, hey, so, Greenlee's about to go get me a cup of coffee, anybody else want something? But kicking out the crime scene whenever he makes some stupid sort of suggestion.
Yep.
I think kids would get into that, because kids now almost appreciate when you can be sarcastic and snarky with each other, and that's a form of how they communicate. I had to learn that this year with my high school kids, that if I was, if I matched their energy in my classroom, we usually got them to respect me a little bit better and had a better response.
Yeah.
So I think that portion of Will Dafoe's character would be well received. Especially, you can't just... there was a fight! Everyone loved that. It's oh! And then, just kidding, it's one guy with guns.
Yeah. Oh no, I think there definitely... Okay. I think there'd be a section of the audience that would love it. And honestly, I feel like that part of it would be more readily accepted by our age group, going back to that. Because I feel like that fits our sense of humor a little bit more. That more absurdist kind of thing. Yeah. So I think that part would definitely play with the 25 to 35, 25 to 40-ish crowd. I think younger
people also get it too, though.
Well, I think
they kind of at first be a little and then they warm up to it.
Well, I think they'd warm up to it, but I don't know if... I think it would still be a bit more of a detractor in the long run.
Okay.
Versus the upper age group. But yeah, I think all these things, when you put them together into one movie, I really don't think that the Boondock Saints would have the same kind of appeal today for so many of these reasons.
I don't think so.
I feel like it would just get... if it could actually make it to theaters, and that would be a big if right now, I think between critics slamming the hell out of it, which I think they absolutely would, and more than likely needing to go for more niche theaters because of certain social issues that are addressed in it, I don't think it would get a lot of attention. It might be able to become some level of cult classic later, but nowhere near this level.
Oh yeah. And then, gosh, what was I going to say? There's another thing I was going to point out. I think some of the references they make, for example, whenever they get to basically the gun dealer that they're speaking to about like getting the material to actually go do these hits and everything they're trying to go do.
Yeah.
One of the brothers looks like, we should get some rope. He was like, why do you think we need rope? He was like, well, you know, Charlie Bronson always has it. I had to sit there, I had to pause the movie I was rewatching, and I was like, who's Charlie Bronson again? I was like, why was it a big deal? Crap. So I had to like pause it and like look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, he's an actor that always plays like a cop or like some sort of like police officer in like action movies and everything. Yeah. And he's right, he always has some sort of rope that kind of helped him out in some situation.
The classic Hollywood tough guy.
Yes, and then later on in the scene connected to that one where they actually end up accidentally using the rope to take out 9 guys. Willem Dafoe character actually sits up and goes, bad TV is the cause of this. Like, people don't do this. And it goes back to the reference in the 90s where it was always like, people mimic what they see on TV and in video games, and like, it's going to be bad for them. So we can't put out terrible things. I don't think some of a lot of the time reference materials that they put in there, I don't think they would click with anybody. You have to like, if you really were trying to make it work, you'd have to really change everything. It couldn't be Boondock Saints, it'd have to be something else besides Boondock, because I don't think people know what Boondock actually means either.
So I guess the big question now is, and real quick, just to jump back, if you missed it early on, question of the day was, do you think that this movie would be able to handle or hold up with a modern audience? You know, please tell us. Throw in your 2 cents on this. Right now, over on Facebook, we're getting a lot of great movie comments. So I think a lot of other people still think it would be able to hold up. But please keep telling us. But
I'm as we were talking about it, at first I was like, oh yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I love this movie. I quote this movie frequently. Like, it's personally in my top 10 favorite movies. Yeah. But when I was rewatching, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know, like, if this would even go to theaters in 2020. Like,
I mean, I think the big question here, more than any of the others that we've touched on right now, is there anything that you think could be done if this were to be made today? Are there any modern tweaks or adjustments that could make this movie more palatable to a modern audience while still giving us ultimately the same general film?
So, with first little bit, since it's vigilantes, my first guess was that instead of them being in like the black shirt with the dark jeans, a black trench coat, and then just like a ski mask, if they were trying to be vigilantes with today, it would have to be like them dressed up as superheroes. I hate to say that, but like, I think that would kind of make some sort of point, because that's basically what they're adopting almost, is like a vigilante superhero-esque.
Sort of, but background. I mean, remember the Punisher and the Matrix are both still very popular, and that aesthetic does still fit with that general mindset.
It is true, but I don't see people... Okay, I'm gonna keep that opinion to myself on that one. Like, I don't see Punisher being a big sort of like, let me dress up as the Punisher, or let me dress up as Neo from the Matrix. It's more like, people wear like superhero shirts, or Captain America, or Iron Man, or like Hulk, or Hawkeye. Or
maybe.
Think about like big Avengers, and then like you might get someone, like I said, doing Superman or Batman. Probably not even Aquaman anymore because of... I mean, I love Jason Momoa. You're a beautiful man. Like, for real. But not a lot of people clung to his Aquaman like they did other ones, and just all this other stuff. I don't know if they would do... They'd have to be probably a little more goofy. Probably try to do things they saw, instead of seeing in bad TV, it would have to be like in superhero movies, or like, oh, I saw this in the Batman movie once. Like,
sure.
It would be things like that. And then it couldn't be Boondock Saints, it'd have to be something else, because Boondock refers to like the common man and the modern man, the one that like is part of everyday culture, but people don't realize that's what that's referring to.
Yeah.
So it had to have an entirely different name. With the religious aspect, I don't know if people would even get half of the things that they say.
I mean,
like,
I think if you're gonna be setting, if you're still gonna be setting it in Boston or anywhere up in the New England area, I think the Catholic angle would still work, because I think there's
Maybe,
still
yeah.
enough attachment to the fire and brimstone, you know, that Old Testament style judgment that
Fair.
holds on up there, that I think it would still have a chance at connecting enough that it would still make sense. I think that part could actually handle with a modern audience. I think it would be a little bit more controversial than it was then,
Yes.
but I think it would still click.
It had the same sort of feel like whenever, so they have their first tussle with the Italian mafia guys at the bar, which results in them coming to find them later to try to kill them in their apartment. They kill them outside in the alleyway. That night, when they're staying the night in the holding cell, and it's raining, the water's coming through and hitting their face, they both wake up, and it's almost as if they've had, and multiple references later, a call to God.
Yep.
Is what brought them upon this. That, like you said, it would be very controversial.
Oh yeah.
In today's audience, because as much as people are religious or aren't religious, it's almost a topic that people do not discuss anymore in any sort of entertainment thing. Like, it's like a hands up, not on it, I'm not touching it with 10-foot pole. So I don't know how that would be accepted. Even like think like how I think it's the Blues Brothers, right, that also get a call from God to go on this mission. I don't think that would be well received.
You don't think the you don't think the more angry version of "we're on a mission from God" is gonna click with a modern audience?
Mm-mm. I really don't. I really don't. Just because of how those who use religion as a justification in today's time. I'm doing this because my religious figure told me to do this.
Fair.
They usually are crucified afterwards, for lack of a better term.
Fair.
Fit there. But
And you may end up having some comparisons to some other things that we also can't talk about because of you know, Papa Google says that's a big no-no. So we won't.
Papa Mouse.
Well, yeah, but Papa Disney does not own YouTube. Papa Google does, and you don't make Papa Google mad, because Disney may own everything, but Google knows everything, and you don't mess with that.
I swear Google listens. I was talking, I'm gonna go into the whole discussion with us, talking to Mike about something. Literally went to go search it on Google. Oh, you were talking about Grave of Fireflies. I typed the word grave in there and it filled it in for me. That's not something people search. Like, you can't tell me that this thing is not listening to everything.
I mean, Apple
Dang it, Google.
Apple and Google have already said that to a certain extent. There is a little extra overstep there that we just, have to turn off if you knew that it was there. But I mean, whatever. We'll get into government and big tech conspiracies at another day.
Will we?
Not if we want to be able to keep doing this show.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, no, I think, I think you may be, I think you may be right. I think some of those topics, some of those references, especially to the religious call to action, or the particular vigilante aesthetic that they choose, or whatever, I think that if you change their motivations, if you changed the way in which they went about it, maybe you could get it passed off with a little less resistance to a modern audience.
Small chance.
But I don't know. I mean, in general, I think any movie that is going to be focusing on this specific topic, on this type of vigilantism, coming out today, whether we mean like today, or like the general concept of like within the last couple of years, I think there would still be a massive amount of resistance to anybody wanting to accept, or having a lot of controversy around specifically who chooses to accept it.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I could easily see this. I mean, if you thought the weird 4chan, like, alt-right adoption of Pepe the Frog was odd, the kinds of things that you could see happen with this movie coming out today, I can see that going really, really bad. I mean, if if even a weird little niche internet meme isn't safe, the heck, honestly, what kind of chance does a movie like this have, really?
Yeah, I don't think it would do well, in all honesty. Like, today's audience, it would not go over smoothly.
Yeah. Anyway, final
and
thoughts.
That's the tea.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Boondock Saints in general. Is it okay to still like it?
I mean, I love the movie still. Come at me. Like, it is a fantastic movie. It is darkly hilarious. So if you have a really messed up sense of humor, like, if you can tell me what color Skippy was, then you might enjoy this movie. Or if you can tell me what's so funny as I dry fire a revolver 6 times, you probably enjoy this movie. You probably really would.
Yeah.
But I would recommend it. It's honestly, it's really good. It kind of tugs a couple of times with how they analyze things. Dad showing up, the analyzation and the symbology and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it still.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it would do well if it was released on mass scale today. So, sadly.
I think you're right on that. I think there would be, I think a modern audience would have a hard time with it, but personally, looking back at it, I mean, I'll still appreciate it. It's not my go-to movie. Like, if I have some free time and it just happens to be there, I may or may not watch it. It's definitely one of those movies that I have to be in the right mood for that kind of thing, but I mean, I'm not going to say no, honestly. There are definitely times where I will absolutely watch the hell out of it.
Yeah, no.
So I mean, just like Fight Club,
good.
I'm gonna look at this and go, yeah, no, there's definitely gonna be times I'm gonna want to watch it, and I'm gonna be okay with it. I'm not gonna, I don't take it seriously. I think it could be fun, and I don't take the ultra violence or the particular message from the movie all that seriously, regardless of how generally crappy real life tends to paint these type of events.
Fair.
So, anyway, with that, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty much all I don't really gotta say.
Yeah, Guys,
my piece.
do you agree with us? Do you like this movie, number one? And number two,
Yeah.
what do you think? Please, tell us.
And if you like this movie, what's your favorite quote? Because I want to know.
Yes. I think that would be a great way to just spam the comments with nothing but quotes on this. The occasional legit answer down there, but then just spam the rest of it with quotes. That'd be
Just
great.
give me your most obscene quotes from the movie, please.
Yes. Yes,
Like,
because
I have some of the greatest quotes, but I can't say them for you.
yes, because rule number one with the internet, it does not matter how family friendly the content in the video is, the comments are never family friendly. So please go nuts.
I can't say them for you. I got good ones. Just up here.
With that, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I did see that we had a decent number of you sticking around for most of this, so thanks for that. Yeah, just once again, if you missed it at the beginning of the video, if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. We absolutely appreciate that. If you are a first-time viewer, please do not forget to follow us over on Facebook and subscribe. Hit the little subscribe button here-ish on the screen over on YouTube. And don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. We would love to hear from you, them, everybody. Be awesome.
Yes.
And of course, as always, if you like our content but you don't always have time for the video, we always put out our interviews and our live streams on audio over at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. So please go check us out there too. And yeah, until next time, this has been Brad and Kyla with Dallas Geek saying, see ya.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.